Nouns and Verbs Have a Field Day by Robin Pulver and Lynn Rowe Reed. Each day in Mr. Wright's classroom, the kids search the room for nouns and verbs. Nouns are names for people, places, and things. Verbs are where the action is. The cow jumped over the moon. Who can find the most nouns? Who can find the most verbs? But one morning, Mr. Wright announced, "No time for nouns and verbs today. It's field day." "Hooray," shouted the kids, and they raced outside. The door slammed behind them, leaving the nouns and verbs all aflutter. The words felt sentenced to a long, boring day without the kids. What's field day, they wondered. "Look," said a verb. "Window," said a noun. The words looked out the window and saw the kids on the playground. "Run, jump, hop, throw," said the verbs. "Play." "Games, races, contests," said the nouns. "Listen," said a verb. They heard kids whooping and hollering and laughing. "Fun," said a noun. The nouns and verbs wanted to play too. They wanted to have as much fun as the kids, so they decided to have their own field day. "Teams, pairs," said some nouns. "Choose," said a verb. When they picked teams, the nouns chose other nouns. Desk, crayon, book, and eraser insisted on being together. So did paper and pencil. Cookies and milk paired up. Glue, markers, and tape stuck together. Verbs wanted to be with other verbs. Push, pull, yank, and tow, they said they belonged together. Hop, skip, and jump chose one another. Shout wanted to be with cheer. Throw and catch refused to be separated. So did chew and eat. Long nouns were happiest with other long nouns. Pronouns stayed together, waiting their turn. Proper nouns made sure their team's name started with capital letters. We're the proper nouns, and no one could be prouder. Finally, the leader shouted, "Get ready, set, go." The nouns got ready, but they were helpless without the verbs. The verbs got set, but they couldn't do anything without the nouns. The nouns and verbs stared at one another. More than ever, they felt sentenced to a long, boring day without the kids. They were frustrated and sad and mad. Finally, they looked out the window again. Outside, Sam ran. Jacinta hopped. Mike and Ting were throwing and catching. Kids were pulling and tugging and falling down, and Mr. Wright cheered. The custodian helped. Balloons burst. The principal laughed. Teams were taking turns. Some children waited, and a breeze blew. "We forgot," yelled a verb. "Our job," shouted a noun. "Things happen when we work together." "We need verbs," said the nouns. "We need nouns," said the verbs. Then they chose new teams and partners so they could have fun and play their own games. Then get ready, get set, go. The nouns and verbs kicked off their own field day. Nouns and verbs played tug of wars. I'm a strong verb, choose me. You can depend on me. Nouns and verbs played hide and seek. Simon says spin around. Simon says jump. Nouns and verbs played Simon Says. Kiss the fish. Nouns chose partners for the three-legged race. Then the new compound nouns teamed up with verbs. We need you. Nouns acted out verbs for the others to guess. The nouns and verbs had the time of their lives. Finally, they decided to show Mr. Wright's class how much fun nouns and verbs could be. They made up new games for the kids. They scrambled and juggled and twisted. They laughed themselves silly. When Mr. Wright's class came back, the kids couldn't believe their eyes. Wow, they said, nouns and verbs moved around. Mr. Wright looked puzzled. I forgot to close the window. It must have been the breeze. But when Mr. Wright and his kids noticed the message on the board, they couldn't wait to have a different kind of field day. Playing around with nouns and verbs. The end.